Okay, so I think I'm finally ready to maybe tell the story of my miscarriage. Probably not all the details, but I will share most of it. So, my husband Neil and I found out we were pregnant, and we were trying. We waited until after our wedding. Had my birth control. I had the Mirena, the intrauterine device, the Mirena. I had that pulled out the day before our wedding because we really didn't want to get pregnant before the wedding. There was stress going on, and we planned a drink at the wedding. Of course, I only had 2 drinks. Didn't get to eat because, it's a wedding and you're busy. But we just basically wanted it to occur after we'd gotten married and, had our honeymoon and did all that. I have a kid from a previous marriage. She is 3 years old now. She was 3 months old when Neil and I met, because her dad and I had split when I was pregnant with her. Things are really, really good with her dad. He actually loves Neil. Neil loves him. We're all good friends. Haley has 2 daddies. And then Neil has 2 kids from a previous marriage. There is next to zero relationship with their mother. They go there, but they don't actually have a relationship with her. So I am referred to as Mom, and they call her by her first name. We discussed having another baby with the kids, and they were very excited about it. So basically everybody was happy. This is what everybody wanted. We found out we were pregnant. We started announcing to family at the end of December in 2017. December 29th is actually when we told our parents. On January 4th, I had been getting really, really sick. Hadn't been feeling very good at all. Was slightly worried because, first trimester, sick. I had already had 2 previous miscarriages. So I was a little bit concerned that I was sick and I wasn't really getting any better. And I was having kind of some weird symptoms, but nothing that was like super alarming that actually led me to believe that I was miscarrying. I was having a little bit of cramping, a little bit of spotting. So I went to my OB, who did an exam, did blood work, did the whole 9 yards, and told me that everything was okay. She said my progesterone was a little bit low. Hi, baby. Come here. Hi.
What's that?
Camera. You say hi?
What's this?
This is Dakota. It's your baby brother, remember?
Can I see in there?
Do you love your brother?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to go play?
No.
No?
No.
I'm going to keep talking, okay?
No.
No.
No, I want to sit on your
You
lap.
want to sit on my lap while I talk? Okay.
Yeah.
This is Haley. What's your name?
3.
I didn't say how old are you, but you are 3. What's your name?
Haley Hope Whistle.
Yes, ma'am. Mwah.
I'm Haley Hope.
Okay, so back to my story. You want to listen to story time?
Yep.
Okay. It's a story of your baby brother. Okay, so Mommy went to the doctor. You remember you went to the doctor with Mommy?
Yep.
And I was very, very scared. But the doctor, stop baby, reassured me that everything was okay with the baby. And that my progesterone was just a little bit low. And that she would start me on some medication to help with this. No. And that I needed to be on bed rest and pelvic rest. And she did all this lab work. She sent me home on bed rest. Told me that somebody would be following up because I am a high-risk pregnancy with whatever pregnancy I have. I am a breast cancer survivor. So I'm just somebody that should be followed more closely. Anyways, she is an OB. She recommended that I see an MFM, which is maternal fetal medicine, which I agreed with. I should.
I'm going to take a picture of this one.
Smile. Good job. This is taking a picture constantly. It's a moving picture. It's a video.
Oh, Hold on, I want to take a picture of this.
I'll wait until I'm done.
Okay.
But anyways, so she tells me that I need to follow up with MFM and I need to get in there as soon as possible, and that somebody from her office will be contacting me to schedule it because I asked to be a consult. I can't just go. And she wants me at a specialty hospital, so she's going to have to get prior approvals because I need to see the best doctor, is what she says. Fast forward 2 weeks. I've received no phone calls. I've received no follow-ups. Nothing has happened. I call in and tell her, hey, I'm still sick. It's getting worse. These symptoms are getting worse. I'm starting to get a little nervous. Her office tells me that they can't see me and that I should go to the emergency. I go to the emergency room because she basically says, like, hey, we're not going to see you today. Like, I'm not going to see you. So I go to the emergency room and they do a bunch of tests. They discover that I have a urinary tract infection. I know deep in my soul that's bad. I know it. But optimistic me says, okay, that explains all of my symptoms. That's why I've been sick. That's what all this is. I'm not losing the baby. I just have a UTI. That's the optimist in me. About an hour later, the doctor comes in and informs us that the baby is gone. So, that was a really bad night. I knew as soon as they told me, but I thought if I was happy enough and hopeful enough that that wouldn't be the case, and, I would just still have a healthy baby despite everything. I go to follow up with my OB. Her entire demeanor has changed. She went from a doctor that was very warm and friendly and shaking hands and talking to my children and smiling and, conversing with me, to a woman that would not even look me in the eye. Now I get that this is not a situation that somebody wants to talk to somebody about, but that's her job. She's my OB. Her job is to talk to me about this, to explain, to reassure me
What are the cheese crackers?
that, we will at least look for a cause.
Cheese crackers?
We actually did end up finding out the cause, and it was a pretty simple task. She told me that she needed me to come in for weekly HCG checks to make sure it's going down. So I do. I come in for all of my weekly HCG checks. At the end of 4 weeks, I was supposed to see her again. Now, this is 4 weeks after I've lost a child. So I'm a bit concerned that she has no interest in even seeing me for 4 weeks. And I'm thinking, there's a baby inside of me. What's going to happen in those 4 weeks? So those 4 weeks go by, and I don't bleed at all. I am having really bad lower abdominal pain, really bad lower back pain. At that point in time, you could still see it. There's a heating pad on my bed. I am literally, if I'm not in school, if I'm not up doing something with the kids, I'm on a heating pad. I am sleeping with a heating pad on every night, and I'm rolling back and forth so it's on either my lower abdomen or my lower back, because I am just in pain every day. At this 4-week visit, like, I called a few times, told the office, nothing. I get no callbacks. I get nothing. I go in for my weekly HCG checks, and it's going down, but not very quickly. It's not really dropping very much. I go in for my 4-week visit with her, and I'm explaining this pain. She does a 5-second pelvic exam where she feels around. Is this sensitive? Is this tender? Well, yes, it all is. It hurts. Like, I'm in pain. At this point in time, I tell her I'm worried about infection because I've not bled. I've not passed the baby. There's no clots. There's been nothing. And she just tells me, well, there's no baby. There's no baby. That's what she's telling me. Meanwhile, there's been no follow-up. sonograms, there's been nothing. Like I said, a 5-second pelvic exam, and that's it. And lab work for HCG. I tell her that I had just recently, like after becoming pregnant, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's, which can actually cause fertility issues. More so in the fact that it can contribute to a miscarriage. It's a hormonal imbalance. It can happen. So I told her that until I got things under control, because I started on medication, I would like to go back to using birth control because, I want to get healthy. I want to have time to get over this miscarriage. I want time to mourn our child, to get healthy again, essentially, before attempting this again, because I can't handle, this is number 3. I can't handle number 4, especially right after number 3. And this destroyed my kids too. We'd told our families, we'd told our children, we just can't do that to our kids. So I want to get healthy first. She tells me that as soon as my HCG is 5 or below, she will start me on birth control. We had discussed my different options. We had discussed my different options. I had to remind her multiple times that she could not give me estrogen-based birth control because I had an ER-positive breast cancer. She kept telling me she wanted me to get the copper IUD. Well, I can't do the copper IUD. I can't do the copper IUD. And I'm telling her this, and I'm telling her, no, I just want the progestin-only pill. She finally agrees to it and says, okay, well, that makes sense. PR-negative cancer, ER-positive, progesterone only. I can do that. So she agrees to it as soon as your HCG is 5 or below. At this point in time, I believe it was still in the 100 range. So I still have a couple weeks to go. So, because at this time it only dropped about 200 over the course of a month. Fast forward a couple weeks and I go in and, do my labs. It comes back at a 6. She tells me no to the birth control because it's at a 6, not a 5. Not, hey, I'll just go ahead and put it in, next week or whatever. She tells me no. So I wait a few more days and I go in and it's at a 4. So I call the office and I say, okay, you're up down to below a 5. So put in my birth control now. She calls me back about an hour later. The doctor herself calls me back, not her nurse, the doctor, and she tells me that I have a history of breast cancer. Well, yeah, I think I know this. Then she tells me she will not start me on birth control and that I need to come in for a visit. And I tell her, no, we have already discussed this. Why? Why do you need me to come in for another visit that I don't have time for? Like, I'm missing classes to go to all these doctor's appointments. She tells me the only one she will give me is the copper intrauterine device. So I remind her that I cannot do the copper intrauterine device, that I have an allergy and it's just not going to work. And she tells me she will not give me the progestin only, and that unless I come in and talk to her. So I'm kind of like getting red flagged here because we'd already had this discussion. I'd already discussed my breast cancer with her. I'd already discussed everything with her. She had already agreed to it, and now that it comes down to getting it after making excuses to not give it to me, now, here's another one. You have to come in again and waste my time again. So at this point in time, I had already scheduled with another OB that works in her office, and he actually specializes in figuring out why women are miscarrying. Sometimes you just don't know. Sometimes there's absolutely no reason and it just happens and it sucks. But sometimes you do. You get a reason, and that's what he does. She had told me at my first visit with her after the miscarriage, and actually in the emergency room, and told me to, schedule an appointment with this doctor. And I'm going to keep names out of this. But to go to him, that he would start testing. He would, if we could get to the bottom of this, He's the one to go through. So I did. I'd already scheduled an appointment with him. And my appointment with this man was 2 days from that point. No, the day after that point. Yeah, it was on a Thursday. She called me on a Wednesday. I'm in A&P, Anatomy and Physiology. So I say, don't worry about it. I'm going to go through this doctor anyways. And we may, I'll come up with a plan with this doctor. This is the one that's supposed to take care of me now that, recurrent miscarriages are a thing. I go and I see this man. He pulls up my medical records because they're in the same office. They work on the same floor. They're in the same office. I immediately tell him, I'm seeing, doctor, seeing her.
You did that, Mom.
And I tell him, I don't want to speak illy of somebody that you work with, but I'm not feeling much compassion from her. I'm not feeling much empathy. I'm not really receiving help. I'm not receiving adequate help that I need. I have no answers as far as this miscarriage. I have not passed the baby yet. At this point in time, it's been about a month and a half. So I tell him these things, and he says, honey, you are not the first person to tell me that. You probably won't be the last. Let's get this figured out. So he starts basically complete medical history. It's him, it's a PA that he's working with. They're both fantastic. First thing they did was give me a hug, tell me that they're sorry. It's not my fault. Immediately there's the compassion there. There's the, we want to help you, and he told me I may not be able to give you an answer. Sometimes it just happens, but we can look into this. We can find out if there's something, there could be something simple. I told him about the Hashimoto's, gave him pretty much a comprehensive medical history. Told him about my 2 previous miscarriages and kind of, what led up to those things. And he told me, I already know what's wrong with you. I will do lab work to double check, to back up what I'm telling you. And he said, but it's an MTHFR. And I cannot say the big long word. Basically, it's a genetic mutation that causes my body to not absorb B vitamins. And he also believes that I have PCOS. We've done tests, we've done lab work, we've done all that since then, and he was correct. I'm very deficient in the B vitamins. I'm very deficient in a lot of things. Basically, all of these things are things that doctors very well could have, had they paid attention, had they looked at any of my medical history, they could have figured it out. But the thing that shocked me the most, he informed me, he asked me what day I was confirmed that I had miscarried, and he said January 4th. And I said, well, no, it was January 18th in the emergency room. And he goes, no, January 4th. And I just looked at him and I said, I came in to see, doctor that works with you across the hall there because I was really sick and I couldn't figure out why. And, I told him she had assured me that the baby was okay. She'd put me on this medication and told me to be on bed rest, on pelvic rest, which basically means no sex. So bed rest, pelvic rest. It was kind of a modified bed rest. I could get up and I could do household chores and stuff like that, but I wasn't to really do anything strenuous. I wasn't to lift above a certain weight. He informs me that he's looking at my lab work, and at that point in time, the baby was already gone. He looked at the scans, he looked at everything that was done that day, and the baby was already gone. 100% confirmed the baby was gone. He informs me that it was 100% confirmed. 100%. He flipped the screen around. He showed me all the results. My baby was gone on January 4th. The medicine she started me on artificially kept my HCG elevated so it would appear that I was still pregnant. So she sent me home on bed rest and pelvic rest, knowing my baby was already deceased. Waiting at home on a follow-up with a maternal fetal medicine specialist that there was no need for me to go to because my baby was already gone. I cannot even fathom why somebody would do this to another human being. The only thing we can really think of is insurance fraud. She was having me come in for so much lab work and, little visits, where she doesn't actually come in, say anything, do anything. I go in, I talk to a nurse for a couple of minutes. They don't actually do anything for me, and then they can bill my insurance and say that they did all this profound medical stuff. I cannot even fathom why somebody would tell me my baby was okay and my baby was not. My baby was already gone. So he told me this and I was just floored. I mean, I don't even know what to say at this point. So he also gave me birth control because he could not figure out why she would say no to the proper birth control for somebody like me. So he gave me that, set me up with a whole bunch of testing. The testing started that day and it kind of just continued. Since then, I've gotten everything back. I have lupus. I have hemolytic anemia. I have an MTHFR genetic mutation. We're still kind of working to figure out what type of genetic mutation, so I can find the best diet that's correct for me. He started me on some folate. I'm supposed to eat more leafy greens and stuff that have natural folate in it. I take a baby aspirin every day now. I'm on birth control now, but the plan is whenever I do actually get pregnant, I will immediately start taking progesterone to kind of help my body, because that's part of this deficiency, part of this mutation, is that my body does not naturally produce enough progesterone to kind of help maintain a healthy pregnancy. Usually somebody with this genetic mutation will just have a hard time staying pregnant. With the PCOS, I also have a little bit of difficulty getting pregnant. I have kind of irregular ovulation cycles. Right now, we're kind of working on all that. That's part of my on birth control, getting healthier before we attempt to have another baby, because I want a healthy pregnancy. My pregnancy with Haley was very rough. It was a lot of bed rest. It was a lot of bleeding. I had a subchorionic hemorrhage, a lot of vitamin deficiencies, a lot of sickness, a lot of preterm labor, and then she was actually born preterm. She did actually fairly well. She was jaundiced, of course. I think that's fairly common anymore. She had to do phototherapy for a while. We were lucky enough to be able to do the Billy blanket at home. So I would do kangaroo care with the Billy blanket at home. So we got very lucky there. She had somewhat breathing difficulty. She had, her sucking reflex was not as strong as a lot of, she's preterm, preterm, most of the problems that would occur. But she had pretty mild problems compared to a lot of babies that I've seen. So she was relatively healthy. She was 4 pounds, 0.3 ounces, and she dropped just a little bit, but then she gained weight regularly. She was not failure to thrive. She actually, she was small. She's always been small. She's just now kind of like at 3. She's on the growth curve where she's still at the bottom of it, but she's like on the curve. So she's within like the 12th percentile now. She wasn't even on the charts before though. So she's very healthy. She's very bright. She's got no delays or anything. So her motor skills are fabulous. Her cognitive skills are just her big sister, her 6-year-old sister's in kindergarten. She teaches her, you know, she'll come home from school and teach her what she learned. So, I mean, plus she's just got all this help from her brother and her sister. So, but all of these things are so easily explained by, you know, this genetic mutation, the PCOS, the Hashimoto, like all of these things. So now that I know about it, you know, there's ways that it can be, I guess not corrected, but dealt with so that I can have a healthy pregnancy. So right now I'm working on, well, healthy mind. I just lost a baby. I'm a lot better now than I was. Obviously it's, you know, mid-March now. I actually delivered, which we named the baby Dakota. We lovingly call him our son. We don't really know. We didn't have them do all the testing and stuff like that. We didn't really want to go through all that after everything we've been through. Our feeling is that it was a boy, so we just say he. We named the baby Dakota, kind of one of those gender neutral names. So his name is Dakota Kessler. We did not give him a middle name. I delivered baby Dakota at home on March 4th. Unfortunately, I was by myself. So, but 2 months after, so January 4th is when the doctor knew, even though she did not tell me, and I didn't find out until the emergency room visit January 18th, 2018. I delivered him exactly 2 days after. Lab work and fetal scans had determined that he was no longer living. So we went through the whole process and got a death certificate for our sweet boy, and here he is. Here is our sweet Dakota. Say, I love you, Dakota.
I love you, Dakota.
Beautiful angel Dakota. Yeah.
What's his last name?
Kessler.
What's his last name?
His last name is Kessler. Dakota Kessler. So, that is my story.
Now can
I don't even really know what to say. I cannot fathom knowing a woman's child is no longer, and not telling her, and sending her home to believe that her baby is just fine, and seeing her for all these visits and checks and, you know, nurse visits, and not saying anything, waiting for the emergency room to tell me, and then acting like you just didn't know. And then acting like I'm crazy when I tell you, like, I'm having all these pains, all the abdominal pain, all the lower back cramping stopped the second I had him. They're gone now. I was going in, you know, I even went to my primary doctor and said, you know, hey, check and see if I have a UTI maybe. I don't know.
Mom,
Obviously I didn't. You're hungry? You literally have eaten all day. Are you growing?
No, I'm not.
No, you're not?
No, I'm going to McDonald's.
No, McDonald's is yucky.
No, I want
So,
McDonald's.
that is my miscarriage story. That is what happened to me. You want to go to Mimi's house? So do I.
Yep.
That is my story. If anybody is going through this or has gone through this and needs somebody, my 3-year-old will entertain you. Reach out to me. I've been there. I've been there 3 times. It's hell. It's not something anybody should ever have to face, especially not alone. So, reach out to me. And Haley. She'll help you. She'll smush your face. And she might pinch your butt too. Say bye.
Bye.
Say, love you all. See you soon.
Love you all. See you soon. What's that?